Have you played with alcohol inks yet? I did today for the first time, and boy did I have fun. So come along and join me, and let's play with some ink. Let's get started. Hi everybody! Gonna play with some alcohol ink on just some plain old freezer paper from the grocery store. This is the first time that I've really done anything much with alcohol ink, so I'm really looking forward to a fun session here in the studio. I put the freezer paper just on a piece of foam core and taped it down with some washi tape, and then kind of divided it in half so that I can play in two different areas. So I just put some alcohol ink on an ink blending tool. I started with Poppy Field and then added honeycomb and cool Perry. It's like a periwinkle blue color. And I am just going to start pouncing it on the top here in a second and just mixing it as I go and see what's happening. Just wanted to get the paper, like a background, down on the paper. And just adding some more ink. I did get tired of adding and taking off the bottle caps, so I just decided to line them up in front of the bottles and leave them off. Now I'm going to add some mermaid. It's like just a really deep aqua, turquoise I should say. And I'm just dropping it on and watching the circles form, which this is the coolest thing. And then I just decided what would happen if I did this, and so I just pounced through the wet ink around that corner there. It wasn't terrible. A lot of this is experimentation because I've seen other people using it, but I've never really used it very much myself. So I just put a drop of the blending solution into the wet ink that I spread out there, and now I'm putting a drop of mermaid back in the middle. And if you've not used alcohol ink before, each successive drop pushes the other color out of the way. Like that becomes the predominant color, and it will just continue to spread until the ink dries, which takes just a few seconds, but it spreads pretty fast. So for whatever reason I decided that I was gonna pounce through the middle right there, and I just made mud, so I had to fix it. And I'm just trying to dry it so that I can go back on top of it without making the mud even muddier. And we'll just wait a minute for that to happen. In the meantime, I'm adding some more of the poppy fields. And you see how the red that I just added totally takes over. It kind of just pushes that mud out of the way or to the back, I guess in this case. So I had fun with this. This is a fairly long video, so if you've used alcohol ink before, you can probably just scrub through some of this or not watch or whatever. I'm not wanting you to go away, but you'll probably just be bored because I'm just doing some basic things here, just playing really. And primarily I wanted to experiment with the freezer paper just to see, because I do have a 5x7 pad of Yupo paper, but I thought, well, if I can play and experiment and learn some things just on freezer paper, I'd rather do that than waste the Yupo paper. So it worked pretty good. I'm putting some lemon yellow in there now just to kind of brighten things up a little bit, and then I just shook the bottle and I got some cool little drops that came out and spread around there that I really liked. So yeah, just going back and forth, adding ink, adding alcohol. 91% alcohol is what you want to use with alcohol ink. The weaker stuff is just watered down. It doesn't react as well. I tried it with the 70% and it doesn't work nearly as well as the 91% isopropyl does, so you know. And then I'm going to leave that top to dry, and I just spread alcohol all over that bottom piece just to see if my initial drips behaved any differently when the alcohol was already down, and really didn't very much. They spread a little bit in kind of amorphic shapes, but I don't think it made that much difference. The alcohol dries so fast that it really doesn't make a big difference one way or the other. So I played with this bottom section for quite a long time. I should have just left it the way it was right there, because that's probably the best that it looked. You'll see later what I ended up doing with it. So I get these little Pixis ink blending tools. They just are like little foam or spongy tips, different sizes and shapes, on these little plastic handles. And so they work really good to get in little areas or to make texture. I wasn't sure, how they were going to behave or work or whatever, but for small spaces, I think they're a really cool little thing to have in addition to the regular blending tool with the pad on it. So then I just grabbed a paintbrush and put alcohol on it and dripped little tiny drops, and my goal was to try to blow on those little drips of alcohol and get them to dry faster so they didn't spread out as much. And it kind of worked. It kind of did. I mean, you can see I do have some little dots in there. And then it just kind of started to go south, I think. And the more I messed and the more I played with it, I think the worse it got. So then I saw Tim Holtz do this on a YouTube video, and I thought, well, I'll try that, and maybe I can just lift some of the ink through the stencil, and that would create some cool texture, and then I could go back on top of it with more ink. So I just dampened that old kitchen rag with alcohol or blending solution, one or the other, and I'm just dabbing the ink off through the stencil, and it's not really doing much, I think, because that bottom section was so light to begin with that there's not really a contrast between what I took off and the background color that is left. So I just went back on with more ink. I just kept trying to fix it and trying to make it better and really trying to like it more. And I just couldn't seem to get there. Using the straw is fun though. Just put a drop of ink down and blow on it parallel to the paper, which is why you see my head bobbing in and out, because I'm trying to get close and blow along the paper. And it makes some cool effects and makes those drips fly out. So I decided I was done with this. So I just took that Pixis tool, the largest one, and saturated it with alcohol and just getting rid of it all. I dripped a bunch of alcohol on it. Now I bring the stencil back. It's like, okay, I got all this juicy ink. This has to work this time. So then if it works, I have a new background to start, because I'm going to start over. There we go. And that's a Joggles stencil called Cyclone. I really like it. It's one of my favorites. So then we start over and I just start dropping alcohol on in different spots again. I'm using the same colors I used to begin with, which was Poppy Fields, Honeycomb, Mermaid, and a little bit of Botanical, which is the green that's in the back. Well, it's the green that I add, but it's kind of the same as the green that ended up in the background. And I guess the green in the background just became because there was so much Mermaid and Honeycomb on that page when I smushed it all together with the alcohol. So I don't know where the red went. Oh, and I added some little watermelon. Those tiny little drops that you see going up toward the center are watermelon. I apologize for my voice cracking and my throat being froggy. I have a cold. My son kindly passed his along to me, so. I'm gonna just leave you with some music here. So that's almost it. I decided I would take the tape off and see how I liked everything, and then I took the paper off the foam core as well. And that washi tape came off the freezer paper really easily, but it ripped my foam core. I like each one for different reasons. I tried to stamp on top of this and then wipe the archival ink back to leave a ghost image, but it didn't work, so now I'm fixing it. So I decided to just take these pens and doodle around the outside of these shapes. A lot of them reminded me of flowers, so that was kind of my approach. And then I filled in some areas and circled some little circles and just doodled. So as I flip that around, I kind of scooched that bottom portion out of frame a little bit. So I know it's hard for you to see. I'm wishing there was a zoom function on the video of my iPad, which is what I use to film this, but to my knowledge there's no way to do that because you'd be able to see this a lot better. But at the end I'm going to show you some close-up photos of different sections of this so you can see the details. So we're coming to the end. I hope you enjoyed watching me first time it with these alcohol inks. I had a good time. I learned a few things along the way too. It just took me a long time to get to the end, but I'll have a quicker time of it next time. So if you liked it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and share it with your friends. That all helps my channel tremendously. So in the meantime, go make some art. Bye.